The law office of Morrison and Associates smelled like old leather and disappointment. I sat in the waiting room, watching the rain streak down the windows, wondering why I'd even bothered coming. The text had been brief. Estate reading, 2 p.m. Tuesday. Don't be late. Mom. My father had been gone 3 months. 3 months since the heart attack took him at his desk, still working on patient files at 71. Dr. William Hart had been a small-town physician for 40 years, beloved by everyone except, apparently, his younger daughter. Sarah, the receptionist called. They're ready for you. The conference room was already full. Mom sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court, wearing the black Chanel suit she'd bought specifically for morning appearances. My sister Jessica perched beside her, designer purse prominently displayed, French-tipped nails drumming against the mahogany table. Her husband Richard lurked behind her, already on his phone calculating their windfall. So nice of you to join us, Mom said, not looking up. Some of us have been waiting. I took the only empty chair, at the far end, of course. Always the outlier. Always the afterthought. Mr. Morrison, Dad's lawyer for 30 years, shuffled his papers uncomfortably. He'd known our family long enough to sense the dynamics. Now that everyone's here, he began, we can proceed with the reading of Dr. William Hart's last will and testament. We already know what it says, Mom interrupted. William and I discussed it thoroughly. The house goes to me, naturally. His practice and investments split between Jessica and myself. Some charitable donations to the hospital. Very straightforward. I see. Mr. Morrison's frown deepened. And you have documentation of these discussions? Mom produced a folder with theatrical flair. The will. Updated last year when Sarah showed her true colors. My stomach clenched. I knew exactly what she meant. Last year, when I'd finally stood up to her. When I'd refused to lie to Dad about Jessica embezzling from his practice. When I'd chosen truth over family politics. I didn't show my true colors, I said quietly. I showed Dad the accounting discrepancies. There's a difference. You tried to destroy your sister. Mom's voice rose. Over a few $1,000s. 47,000, I corrected. And I didn't try to destroy anyone. I tried to protect Dad's practice. His patients. His reputation. Jessica examined her manicure. Ancient history. What matters is that Daddy saw reason. He understood that family loyalty means everything. Mr. Morrison cleared his throat. Perhaps we should examine the document you've provided, Mrs. Hart. Mom slid the folder across with a satisfied smile. Page 3, Section 2. You'll see where William specifically disinherits Sarah. For reasons of disloyalty and failure to maintain family harmony. I felt the words like physical blows. Even expecting them didn't make them hurt less. Sarah gets nothing. She's been written out. Mom smirked at the lawyer. That's what happens to ungrateful daughters. Ungrateful daughters get 0. Mr. Morrison studied the document carefully. Too carefully. His frown evolved from professional concern to something sharper. Mrs. Hart, he said slowly, where did you obtain this document? From William's home office, of course. In his desk drawer, right where he always kept important papers. I see. He held the paper up to the light. And you witnessed him signing this? Well, no. He must have done it privately. You know how he was about difficult family matters. The lawyer frowned. Ma'am, this is a forgery. The word hung in the air like a dropped bomb. Excuse me. Mom's voice went ice cold. This is not your husband's signature, Mr. Morrison continued calmly. I've seen Dr. Hart's signature thousands of times over 30 years. This is a reasonable approximation, but the pressure points are wrong. The T in Hart is crossed differently. Most tellingly, this document references a medical license number that expired in 2019. That's impossible, Jessica breathed. Furthermore, Mr. Morrison reached into his briefcase, the real will. He pulled out another document, this one in a sealed envelope marked with official stamps. Was deposited in my office safe 2 years ago, with explicit instructions not to be opened until after his death, in the presence of all beneficiaries. Mom's smirk melted like snow in summer. That can't be right. It's quite right. Dr. Hart was very specific about the security measures. He seemed to anticipate complications. Mr. Morrison broke the seal carefully. Shall we read the actual will? I watched my mother's face cycle through emotions, disbelief, anger, fear, and finally, a desperate calculating look. Wait, she said. There must be some mistake. William would never. I, William James Hart, being of sound mind and body, Do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament, superseding all previous versions. Mr. Morrison's voice was steady. First, to my beloved daughter Sarah Elizabeth Hart, I leave the bulk of my estate, including my medical practice, investment portfolio, and the family home. What? Jessica shot to her feet. Please sit down, Mr. Morrison said firmly. There's more. To Sarah, who showed tremendous courage in protecting my practice and patients from financial malfeasance, even at great personal cost. Your integrity in the face of family pressure proved you are the only one I can trust with my legacy. I couldn't breathe. The room seemed to tilt. This is a joke, Mom sputtered. A cruel joke. To my wife, Margaret Hart, Mr. Morrison continued. I leave a monthly allowance of $3,000 from the estate, contingent upon her vacating the family home within 60 days. This allowance will continue for her lifetime, provided she makes no attempts to contest this will or harass Sarah. Harass? Mom's voice was shrill. How dare he? To my daughter Jessica Hart Winters, I leave the sum of $1, having already given her $47,000 which she stole from my practice. I consider all debts between us settled. Jessica went pale. Richard dropped his phone. He knew, she whispered. I knew everything, Mr. Morrison read. Sarah tried to protect me from the truth, but I had already discovered the embezzlement. I chose to handle it quietly to avoid scandal, but I never forgot. Jessica, you betrayed not just me, but every patient whose care was compromised by your greed. Also, Mr. Morrison looked directly at my mother. Forgery is a felony. I'm obligated to report this attempted fraud to the authorities. Now wait just a minute, Richard finally spoke. Let's not be hasty. This is a family matter. This is a criminal matter, Mr. Morrison corrected. Forging a will, attempting to defraud an estate, these carry serious penalties. Up to 10 years in prison in this state. Mom's carefully composed facade cracked completely. I was only trying to correct William's mistake. He wasn't thinking clearly. Dr. Hart included a video message. Mr. Morrison interrupted, producing a tablet. He insisted it be played if anyone contested the will's authenticity. Dad's face appeared on the screen, and my heart clenched. He looked tired but determined, sitting in this very office. If you're watching this, his recorded voice said, then Margaret and Jessica have tried something foolish. I want to be clear. I am of sound mind. Sarah is my sole primary beneficiary by choice, not by manipulation or undue influence. Daddy, Jessica whimpered. Margaret, we both know our marriage ended years ago. You stayed for the money and status. I stayed for the girls. But when you helped Jessica cover up her theft, when you turned Sarah into a pariah for telling the truth, you showed me who you really are. Mom gripped the table edge, knuckles white. Sarah, Dad's image looked directly at the camera, at me. You have been the joy of my life. Your compassion, your integrity, your refusal to compromise your values, even when it cost you everything. These are why I trust you with my legacy. The practice needs someone who puts patients first. The house needs someone who'll fill it with love, not schemes. Tears ran down my face. Mr. Morrison has additional documents, Dad continued. Bank records showing suspicious transfers. Security footage from the office. Everything needed to prove what really happened. I gave Jessica a chance to come clean. She didn't. I gave Margaret a chance to support the truth. She didn't. Now they face the consequences. The video ended. The room was silent except for the rain against the windows. This won't stand, Mom said finally, but her voice lacked conviction. I'll fight this. You're welcome to try, Mr. Morrison said. But I should mention that Dr. Hart also left a letter with the district attorney to be opened if you contest the will. It details the embezzlement, the cover-up, and names several witnesses. You're bluffing. Mr. Morrison pulled out another envelope. Would you like me to call the DA now? I'm sure he'd be very interested in the forged will you just presented. Mom's face went gray. You wouldn't dare. Try me. Mom, I said quietly. Stop. Just stop. She turned on me, eyes blazing. This is your fault. You poisoned him against us. No, I said. You poisoned yourselves with greed and lies. I just refused to drink. We're family. Jessica cried. You're really going to let them arrest your own mother? I looked at Mr. Morrison. What are my options? Dr. Hart anticipated this. He suggested you might offer them a choice. They can accept the will as written and walk away quietly, or they can fight it and face criminal charges. The forged document alone is enough for prosecution. Sarah, please, Mom's voice broke. I'm your mother. Yes, I agreed. You're my mother, who called me ungrateful, who helped cover up a crime, who just tried to steal my inheritance with a forged will. That's the mother you chose to be. So you'll see us in prison? No. I took a deep breath. I'll give you the same choice Dad did. Take what he left you and go quietly, or fight and face the consequences. The monthly allowance is insulting, Mom hissed. After 40 years of marriage. After 40 years of what you called marriage, I corrected. Dad called it a business arrangement. $3,000 a month is more than fair for a silent partner in a failed merger. Richard whispered urgently in Jessica's ear. She nodded quickly. We'll take it, she said. The dollar. The deal. We'll take it. And the embezzlement? Mr. Morrison asked. Dad already handled that, I said. The money came from their inheritance. I won't pursue charges if they sign an agreement acknowledging the debt and waiving all claims to the estate. You've thought about this, Mom said bitterly. I've had 3 months to think about it. 3 months of you two planning how to cut me out entirely. Yes, I've thought about it. Mr. Morrison produced more documents. I'll need signatures. These agreements acknowledge the will's validity and waive any future claims. Jessica signed quickly, hands shaking. Richard guided her pen. Mom held out longer, staring at me with a mixture of rage and disbelief. I carried you for 9 months. I raised you. You gave birth to me, I agreed. But Dad raised me. Dad taught me right from wrong. Dad showed me that integrity matters more than money. She signed with vicious strokes. Excellent. Mr. Morrison gathered the papers. Mrs. Hart, you have 60 days to vacate the premises. Jessica, your dollar will be mailed. Now, I believe we're done here. They left without another word. No goodbye, no final insult. Just the click of expensive heels on marble and the slam of a door. I sat alone with Mr. Morrison, still processing. Your father was very proud of you, he said gently. He talked about you often. Said you were the only one who inherited his true values, not just his DNA. I miss him, I admitted. He knew you would. There's one more thing. He pulled out a personal envelope. He asked me to give you this privately. Inside was a handwritten letter in Dad's careful physician's scrawl. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, then they've shown their true colors at last. I'm sorry for the pain this causes you. A girl should be able to trust her mother and sister. But I'm not sorry for the choice I made. You earned this, not through manipulation or flattery, but through character. When you stood up for what was right, even though it cost you your family's approval, you showed me you were ready. The practice isn't just a business. It's a trust. Those patients deserve someone who sees them as people, not profit. The house isn't just property. It's where I hope you'll build the loving family you deserved but didn't get. Be better than we were. Love deeper. Trust wisely. And never apologize for having integrity. All my love. Dad. P.S. Your mother's Chanel suit is rented. I canceled her credit cards last month. I laughed through my tears. One final dad joke from beyond. There's significant work ahead, Mr. Morrison said. The practice needs attention, the house needs updating, and there will likely be social fallout. I know, I said. But it's honest work. I can handle honest. 6 months later, I stood in Dad's, my office, looking at the wall of patient thank you cards. The practice was thriving under new management. The house had been transformed from a showpiece into a home. The monthly checks to Mom cleared like clockwork, though she'd never called. Jessica had started another business venture. Party planning this time. It failed within 3 months. But I'd found something they never would, peace. The peace that comes from knowing your father's last act was to protect you. The peace of a clear conscience. The peace of being chosen not for what you could steal, but for who you truly were. The will had revealed more than asset distribution. It had revealed character, theirs and mine. And in the end, that was worth more than any inheritance.